first reading vlog. But before getting to talking about the book, here's what I thought a reading vlog was supposed to be like. And that's me reading The Shadow of the Gods. There you go. Happy vlogging! So I decided when I read The Shadow of the Gods, I would take the time after reading bits here and there to record my thoughts as I was going instead of saving them all for the end. It went okay. Once I got to the end, I had trouble getting the last clip done, but it is now done, so here we go. I'm currently on page 150, so there's a bit that's happened already, but strangely, not as much as you might expect by 150 pages in. There are 3 main characters so far. We have Orca, the mom, and there's been like little glimpses into her past of what she might have been. She's very obviously suffering from some kind of trauma, PTSD related to her past, and she and her husband are very opposite. He's like the calm to her storm, and they have a 10-year-old son who's very gentle-hearted in a world where they have to be strong. And so the mom is worried about how he's going to do in the world when he is so soft-hearted, like bringing home animals and saying, "Can I keep them?" kind of kid. And then there's Varg, a slave who has run away. I guess I can say spoilers. Spoilers are fine, right? Varg is having an interesting time. He needed a Seether Witch. The only Seether Witch he's found is part of the Bloodsworn, so he has to become Bloodsworn, so he enters this fight. And now that he's accepted into the Bloodsworn, he's having trouble accepting not being a thrall or slave. No one ever treats him like he's just a person, like he's a real human worthy of any attention. And so he's getting used to accepting things from people, and that's really hard for him. I don't even remember the name of the third main character. Not much has happened with her yet. Elvar. You might be hearing some background noise. Elvar is part of a group like the Bloodsworn. She's out to prove herself. She wants battle fame. And she's good at what she does. She's good at fighting and being courageous. And her leader is noting how good she is and like giving her rewards and stuff. And this book has been interestingly like atmospheric, almost slice of lifey so far. So between pages 100 and 150, there's finally some introduction of plot elements. Up to now, it's really been introducing the world and the characters, and it feels more like I'm supposed to be immersed in this world more than caring about the action so far. There's a lot of food descriptions, so I really feel like snacking while I'm reading this. If you've ever read a Redwall book, similar feelings. Lots of descriptions of the weather. This is a cold place. This is Norse inspired. It's spring, but spring there is like still winter to a lot of us. The air is biting and cold, and we get the textures of like what's crunching under their boots, the frost on the rocks, and just everything that makes you feel immersed in the world. They don't spend a lot of time indoors. It's very outside. And there has been a few pretty brutal scenes, which I do expect from this author. And at the point that I am now, Orca has gone to visit the ash tree and found it chopped down, and she hears screaming from back home. And so right now, I am super duper worried. Knowing this author and knowing that characters and main characters can die, family members can die, knowing that he will just off somebody, I don't feel very secure right now. If Orca's son Brekka dies, I'm going to be very disappointed. The magic is cool though. These gods that have like human descendants. So there's people that have like animalistic abilities, but they're all enslaved. They're all thralls. They all have to work for somebody higher up than them. Something about great gods changing the world falling under the shadow of the gods. None of that has come into play yet, so we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to go drink some more mead and read some more of The Shadow of the Gods, and hopefully Orca's family survives. Thorkel is dead. Brecca is missing, so who knows? And Orca is on the rampage. That was intense. Orca gets home and sees all the bodies, the chaos. How many people died to Thorkel? He fought fiercely to protect their son. And then Orca, smearing his blood on her face, placing his axe in his hands. Oh, taking one last look at him as she runs off into the woods. Oh boy. And that's as far as I got last night. Today is Saturday. It has been 1 week since I started The Shadow of the Gods, and now I'm about 200 pages in. There are a few things I'm noticing. There's a lot of chapters that start with a character waking up. They're usually waking up in some sort of pain. Not surprising for this kind of book. And there's a lot of description of clothing, like almost The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan level of clothing descriptions. I don't think it's quite necessary because they're all on kind of the same theme. It's not like in The Wheel of Time where you have so many different culture types represented. These characters are all dressed like Vikings. Some of them are in armor, some of them are not wearing their armor or their helmet. I don't need to know the color of everyone's hair. They did just get to Snaka's corpse, where there's a whole town. And now everyone knows that Elvar is a Jarl's daughter. Kind of equivalent to Princess who went to run away, the rebellious princess stereotype, I guess. I don't blame her though, because it seems like unless a woman is a warrior, she does not get the respect that she would as soon as she picks up some weapons and goes and fights. As far as being respected as a warrior, the men and the women seem pretty equal. I am really feeling for Orca right now. She has officially left home. She's off to avenge her husband and find Brecca if she can. And something that immediately stood out to me as soon as she went off by herself is in how many scenes she is starting to get violent feeling, and Thorkel calms her. Thorkel is not there now to pull her back, to restrain her. She is able to go berserk. I don't think she's a berserker. I'm getting the feeling that she is either tainted or just living out of some kind of really harsh trauma. What exactly her past is hasn't quite been revealed yet, but there's obviously some kind of PTSD, trauma, something in her past that when violence comes up, her body reacts as well as her mind. She like gets flashbacks. So I don't know if that means she's animalistic or not, but there is much violence within her. Thorkel was a berserker, whatever they're calling it. That's not too surprising, but I liked how he was like the gentle giant type. He wasn't fierce or violent. He balanced Orca out. I suspect maybe Varg is tainted. The way he was saying he doesn't remember killing anyone, but he remembers he like came to himself with the person he killed, their throat ripped out or something. So that seems like he might be one of the Hundor or Ulfrir. I'm probably saying those words wrong. Descended from the wolf or the hounds or whatever. And I find it interesting that these people who have some of that blood in them are called tainted. Something that's tainted is usually seen very negatively. Something bad is mixed in. But the blood that makes them animalistic is from the gods, so you would think it would have a more positive spin, but no. If they have any of that blood descended from the gods, they are tainted. And there's a couple of leaders who are like collecting the tainted, which seems a little ominous. Still not super plot heavy, still a lot more slice of lifey, which is fine. Feel like picking up a Viking book and getting into a fantasy Viking world. This is probably the book for you. But I'm going to go drink some tea, enjoy the rain outside, and reading some more of my Viking fantasy. Here is my car. Check out that sun flare. That is amazing. I might not stay here. I might move a little. That might be better. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I kind of like how epic this is, though. I'm gonna leave it. I like it. I am not driving. I am sitting in my car because it is quiet. I have just about 70 pages left, and there is stuff starting to happen. This has not been plot heavy. In fact, I've been thinking about making a video about when nothing is happening in a fantasy book, and then I started this one, which is such a good example of that idea, where there's not always a lot happening. There are some action sequences, but there's also like whole chapters of just characters doing stuff together, especially the Varg chapters. Oh man, Varg. I am so much more sure now that Varg is some kind of tainted, maybe the wolf one. I was having a hard time caring much about Varg's storyline. He's sad about his sister, but we never got to see her, so it's all like second-hand feelings from him. What's getting me more about him right now is when other characters are calling him brother. That means a lot to him right now. He spent so much time as a thrall, a slave. The only family he had was his sister, who meant everything to him, who is now gone, and now this band that he's found himself with, this group of Bloodsworn, are pulling him in and showing care to him. And during his time as a thrall, he had other thralls around him, and so there might have been that sense of community, of brotherhood, of we are all going through this together. But with the Bloodsworn, instead of it being we're going through this together, it's more of we fight for each other. And he has never experienced that before. This is so new to him. He doesn't know how he feels about it, but he knows that he likes it. And I just finished the chapter where Skulk, let me make sure I'm saying the right name. Yeah, betrays the Bloodsworn. And he comes in and he offers to Varg, I'll do your magical thingy for you, a call, whatever, but you have to swear your oath to me. And this is right after he kills Varg's first real friend. Not a good time to say, hey, come follow me, come give me your loyalty. Then we have Elvar and Bjor. It was interesting that he didn't kiss her until Grend was off on taking his turn on watch. And then when Grend is injured is when Elvar feels like she can take Bjor off and be like, hey, let's hit the hay. It can be hard to feel free to pursue a relationship that someone you care about disapproves of when they're like watching over your shoulder. So when Grend is not watching is when they do stuff. I do like that she decided to stay with the Battle Grim. Her father was offering her exactly what she wanted, but by now she knows him well enough to know that that's not an offer at face value. Whatever he offers her now is going to come with strings attached. And then she gives this whole speech to, is it to Uspa? About the people you choose mattering more than the people you're blood related to. And Uspa's like, oh no, you naive thing, blood is all that matters. Which was interesting because she said that before Vol revealed that Uspa is her sister. Not too surprising, I guess. I have had a little trouble keeping straight in my mind the Battle Grim versus the Bloodsworn because the two groups are so similar. I don't know that we needed two separate groups that were so the same. And I feel like that was part of the problem in The Faithful and the Fallen, where there were so many characters that were similar. And now in this one, we have those couple of groups, the bands, the ones who have sworn oaths together and fight together. And so on their separate missions, it's been a little hard to keep them separated in my mind. Orca is giving me villain vibes. She is not afraid to do what needs to be done on the journey to find her son. She has tortured someone, promised that he would go free if he fessed up, and then she killed him. And the two brothers who are with her were kind of shocked. They have been viewing her as like their hero and the good guy that they're supporting. Then they watched her do this, and it's like, well, now what? They still stay with her. They stick together still. But if we were not seeing from Orca's point of view, and if we didn't have our feelings being pulled on by her son being missing, we might not see her as such a good guy. And we have these two women with their sons missing. Tainted children are obviously getting gathered for some reason. And both women who are just trying to get to their son have men who are like, we need to do this other thing. Ugh. Orca is more single-minded in pursuit of her son. She'll help the other guys as long as it doesn't take her out of her way. Uspa feels like she doesn't have a choice, which she doesn't really. She did not want to go out of her way, but again, she will do whatever it takes. She says she'll watch the world burn. Not in those exact words, but getting her son returned to her safely is more important than anything else. My sunflare is leaving. That's how long I'm taking to talk. Orca, I thought it was interesting, freed those children and then just left them. I was hoping she would at least give them some money or something so they could buy some food. I thought that was weird. And then I was thinking when she's torturing the burned rat guy that people keep saying how they fear Drecker. And I was thinking, you know who they should fear? They should fear Orca. She is proving herself to be a woman to be afraid of. She has lost the man who reined her in. She is on the warpath to find her son, and no one better get in her way. Especially not Drecker. I do love the friendships that are forming. It has taken a while. The three main characters have not come together yet, and I can't tell if they're going to by the end. And I don't know that it's necessary. Knowing that there's 2 more books after this, I think each group could get to the end of their separate thing, and I'll be fine with them not coming together at the end. I would like there to be a coming together at the end. I would like to see the 3 groups meet up somehow, but I also think I'll be okay if it doesn't happen in this book. I have a feeling that whatever comes next in the next book will be set up at the end of this one. Look how close I am. I want to finish tonight, but I don't think I'm gonna. Today was also a beautiful day. It's been rainy and cold, and it was finally sunny and nice. And we spent some time outside today. On to the end of the book. And now, the end. When I finally finished the book, I got sick. And for one reason and another, just never sat down and filmed this last bit. And so I finished it a couple weeks ago, which means not everything is super fresh in my mind. But here's the things that stood out to me. I think the tainted blood is far more common than we were led to believe at first. It seemed like everyone we encountered had a certain amount of tainted blood in them, or just were a full-on tainted werewolfy creature. And it makes sense that the people in this land, those tainted who are descended from the blood of those gods, would be very common. This many generations later, I'm sure they're very intermixed in. I didn't expect Thorkel's brother, Glor or something. I didn't expect those two to be brothers, but oh man, that very end with Orca. I'm kind of surprised I didn't cry. It was very heavy. She's there at the end, she's covered in blood. She is so emotionally just broken. She has gone through so much to get to her son. And at the end, she's surrounded by all these children, none of whom are the ones she went after. None of them are hers. By the end of the book, she has not rescued her son. She still doesn't have him. And the way she's just sitting there feeling so defeated. It's been so hard. She has killed so many. She's completely lost her husband, the one person who could kind of keep her calm and encourage her. He's gone. And I loved that kind of partial coming together at the end, Orca with one of those groups, and the leader ends up being her brother-in-law, and he gets to come give her a big bear hug. Pun intended. And then another one of the things that stood out to me, and I think I mentioned this in my review of The Shadow of the Gods, and maybe I've talked about it already, I'll talk about it again, was how in those bands of the Viking-like groups, the Bloodsworn and the other group, that feeling that the men are able to have, especially seen from Varg's point of view, of that feeling of being part of something, of being in something together. It's not that Varg really believes in their mission or what they're trying to accomplish, but that's not really what matters to him. What matters to him is that he's finally part of this group of people who are working together. And I just finished filming my way too long video of the evolution of Bridge 4, just from the Way of Kings. And that was like a big theme of their evolution through that book. Same kind of thing that you get in The Shadow of the Gods is that group of people with a common goal who fight together, eat together, sleep near enough to each other, they protect each other. Those kinds of things shouldn't be something we only see in a fantasy book. All people need to be part of something, feel like they're working towards something bigger than themselves, so that you need other people to be in it together with. And it's interesting now, having read a couple of books in a row, The Way of Kings, I only read the Bridge 4 chapters, that have that theme of brotherhood. This one, it was also women, brotherhood and sisterhood. I appreciated that. And I think if I were to make another favorite tropes video, that's going to be one of my top ones, the Band of Brothers trope. This was the mead I drank while reading it. I'm going to have to get myself another bottle when I move on to the Hunger of the Gods. They're always drinking mead in this book. The meeting places are all called a mead hall. And then we finally get the big nasty dragon at the end. This one that's on the cover that you're like, okay, the gods are dead, but there's a dragon on the cover, so do we actually get to see it? And then I had wondered how the blood of the gods made it into the human population. I wasn't sure how that was going to be incorporated, and apparently they're shapeshifters. So the big dragony creature shapeshifted into a human-looking creature who could then spread their genetic legacy through the people of Vigrid. Makes you wonder if maybe there's any gods hiding around in human form. Maybe. If this vlog goes over pretty well, I might think about doing another one for other books in the future. I might have patrons help vote on which books I end up vlogging. Thank you, patrons, for your support. Let me know if you're planning on reading the next one also, and if you plan on trying to get to it before the October release of the third one, which I'm going to try to do. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.